Welcome to the Dream Brave podcast, where I interview ordinary Christians with extraordinary faith and hear them share their life-changing stories with us. I'm your host, Waijia, and today we have a very special guest with us, all the way in the heart of Tanzania. Now, what's the riskiest thing you've ever done in your life? Is it to jump out of a plane, to move across the world, or start a new business venture? Well, for half of the population of the world, that answer might just be to pursue and chase a girl. Now, today, many of you I know might have heard of our wild love story of how Cliff and I met, and that's an entirely different YouTube video altogether. But some of you may not know that before me, Cliff had to pursue and chase a whole other series of girls who rejected him. And so today, we are going to be asking Cliff some of the hard, awkward, and probably hilarious questions about the risk of pursuing a girl. So without further ado, let's welcome Cliff, who needs no introduction. Cliff, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here on your show to talk about rejection. Oh, no.
Yes. So Cliff doesn't need a long introduction, but for those of you who might not know, Cliff is a cancer survivor. He's a post-liver transplant recipient and also an Ironman triathlete. Cliff also spent a little bit of his life being a stay-at-home dad, and now we are serving here in the heart of East Africa in Tanzania. So Cliff, tell everyone, before you met me, how was your dating life like?
I say it was greatly disappointing. I think, sorry, just going back to it is that, like, growing up, I just remember I don't have a lot of female friends.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to the opposite gender, I don't know what to do. And often it's quite awkward. And then especially when going to relationship or pursuing relationship or going to dating, that's even more awkward because I don't know what to do, what to say. So I think that can kind of summarize of how I started in terms of dating or courtship. And I kind of looking back, I feel like I kind of bumble my way and try what works and what doesn't work.
So just to give everyone an idea, Cliff wasn't like the very
Suave,
suave Iron Man in his
No.
teens. I mean, you had migrated from Hong Kong to Canada, so you lost a bunch of friends, and then you changed schools again while in Canada.
Like a couple of times, so
it was very awkward.
So it's very socially, I was very awkward, I would say, until university, I think, and then that's when I start to have some more friends that are more solid.
Yeah.
But even then, I think I don't really I was always interested in dating or having a girlfriend, but I just don't know how to pursue it, and I'm always too shy. So that makes it very, I guess, awkward to do anything until. So can I talk about after university?
Well, I want to ask you a question, because you told me that you and your best friend had this challenge, right?
Yes.
So I want to hear about that.
Okay, this is really silly when you think about it. After university, my close friend, a guy friend, he told me that he's now on this online dating website called, it's in North America. I don't know if it still exists. It's called Lava Life. Okay, so basically, you pair someone up. If someone you like, you pay a little bit credit to chat with them and go on. And so I was very surprised because my guy friend is also I never seen him very interested in the opposite gender as well. So he went on, and then I decided, why don't I go on as well? Just to see. And then me being young and being a bit cocky and full of ego, I just say, hey, you know what? Why don't we do a challenge? Why don't we challenge each other to date as many girls as possible on Lava Life? The one who get 10 dates will win, right? Just to the whole point of this is, I know it sounds like not very romantic. I would say whole point of this is for us to get out of our shy, awkward zone, right? How do you overcome that is by practicing, right? So and of course, guess what? I won. Not that it really matters because we didn't get in any relationship. And so funny, for a while we were both chasing, not chasing, but we're both dating the same girl, and we both say, oh yeah, this girl is a bit weird because she'll paint her nail polish with not just colors, right? She'll paint flash, she'll put stuff on it, very
that is actually very normal female behavior.
I don't know. Maybe
okay to have things on our fingers.
No, but it's stuff sticking on it.
Okay, but you can see that.
Anyways,
you can see the childishness of that era.
Yeah. So of course it's definitely not very romantic.
Yeah.
But I think.
Okay, wait. At that time, were you a believer?
No,
Like a new
I was
believer.
slowly becoming a believer. I started going to church. Maybe that's
Okay,
yeah.
but
So
okay. So
so just
anyway,
to keep that in the context, yeah.
excuse his
Yeah, this is
childish
not something that
behavior.
I'll recommend anybody to do, right? Overcome your shyness by just going. Yeah, but also at that time, right, that best friend also gave me this like book about like how to pursue a girl, and it's all the like the it's all like you gotta be alpha male, you gotta dress like, talk nicely, talk successfully, you gotta be charming, you gotta, like it's just all the works but no heart, right? It's just
Okay.
all the techniques, right?
Yeah.
But no heart.
So to put this into context, we are sharing this not because we're
Yeah,
saying
we're
like
promoting it.
this is what we
Yeah.
recommend, but it's
Yeah.
just to show, I think, the kind of awkward, gawky era that many of us walk through. And that
Yeah.
was how you kind of
Yes.
navigated that,
Yeah,
right?
because no one really like,
Taught you.
yeah, no one really taught us, and all the guys, all my guys friends always want a girlfriend, but we don't know how to get to that stage, right? So we're all just like kind of bumbling around
And also, you never grew up in a youth group. Cliff didn't have like a youth mentor to walk him through.
no,
This was just like, something that you thought about
yeah,
and decided to do.
yeah.
And how did that feel, Cliff? Like when you went through that period, like did you feel rejected, or did you just feel like, it's just a game and let's just go with it?
Wow, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I would say, right, of all those girls I dated on the website, there wasn't one that I would say like, oh, I want to be in a relationship. It's more of just like, let's just date around and see.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, of course, I think in my heart, I do want to pursue a relationship, a long-term relationship.
Okay.
So I wasn't like, I'm here to like, sleep around as many girls as I can and get away with it. But rather, I did end up having got a female friend. I dated her, and then I ended up got her into doing like half marathons, and then got to do a marathon. So, not that we're like, we in a romantic relationship. It's just a good friendship.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like one of the fruits of that journey of like getting out of your comfort zone was making more female friends and, having like common interests and growing that. But other than that, nothing really blossomed.
Yeah, nothing blossom out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And after that kind of whole saga, did you feel like, oh, I failed? Or did you feel like it really gave you more confidence?
I guess unconsciously it gave me more confidence.
Okay.
Because let me pull this back a bit. I want to tell you more on my rejection stories.
Okay, sure.
So this before like during university, okay, just like year 2 university. So this before all this like dating stuff, like dating competition. I was pursuing another girl which I just met through a friend of a friend,
Right.
and then she was just starting out in her university, and I was my university and her university is very close to one another.
Okay.
Okay. So she started, and then I wanted to date her. And so during her, like, it's called Frosh Week before you start university.
Right, like a
everybody
freshman
freshman,
orientation camp.
yeah, right. So everybody go party, go clubbing and stuff in Canada is very common.
Okay.
So I decided to join her group.
Okay.
And I remember we saying, okay, let's meet at this intersection at this time. Okay, so I went there early, and then you can see how awkward I am because, like, even though she was like only 5 minutes late, okay, just 5 minutes, I called her like 20 times. Okay, so you can imagine when she picked up the phone and realized like 20 missed call from the same guy, that is like, because I was so insecure,
Yeah,
right?
super
And so
cringe.
my friend who knows her, she say, maybe she's not interested in you. And she said it in a way, and I think he was kind, right? Because at least to give me a heads up. But I still pursue, and then she said, no. And so the other thing I did was I pursue her over the phone instead of talking to her face to face. And then she's like, no, I'm interested in someone older. And I'm like, what? I'm really like about the same age. Anyway, so I guess because at that time I was really not mature, right? And so, now I can look at it and laugh. But, at that time, because like I say, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to react, right? And no one tells me like, no one go back and tell me, okay, this is what you did right. This is what you do awkward.
Yeah.
And so it took me many years, actually many years later, to figure out that, okay, maybe, having those missed calls, freak her out.
Yeah,
and
it's
show her that
true.
I'm not mature
Right.
emotionally, right?
Right.
And so,
Wow. So thanks for sharing that. So everyone, I think we can kind of get the context, right? Like it wasn't like, Cliff found the girl and got the girl. I mean, we always hear all the success stories and we always see the very polished side, right? Of getting a girl, proposals, getting married. But actually behind that, there was so much hardship involved. And I can just see that it sounds like that whole season of your life? It was like really hit and miss. No guidance, just navigating blindly and just
And
seeing what you
so,
can get.
because there's no one like, there's no rule book and no
Right.
guidebook. And then the rule book is that book my friends gave me, which is, it works, but it's not really me, right?
Right.
So I think for me, I guess growing in that season, I guess I would call that like the 20s, right? That's when I stopped really pursuing.
Right.
It's really a season of discovering who I am and
Right.
growing in maturity,
Wow.
and sort of figure things out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I think there's some wisdom in there, because I think a lot of us might be very headstrong in wanting to get into a relationship fast. In fact, I didn't have my first boyfriend. Like, I didn't even know Cliff until I was like in my mid-20s. And yeah, and I mean, we got married when you were kind of in your mid-30s, right?
No. I was my
Early 30s.
early 30s.
Early 30s. Yeah,
Don't
so
make me sound so old.
okay,
Just kidding.
it was just to be like, I was 25 and he was
I was
32.
32. Yeah,
so
7
that's
years
super
difference.
factual. So
Yeah.
but I think what it goes to show is that we all take time on our own journey to kind of figure ourselves out, and sometimes it's better for us to kind of allow ourselves space to grow, because there's no timeline, in a sense, that we should kind of pressure ourselves to go into. And yet many of us allow ourselves, I think, to be pressured by the world or by people around us. But I know after that entire saga, Cliff, that you actually did find a girl that you were seriously interested in, and by then you were kind of like a semi-mature believer already. Tell us a little bit about that story.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so this is like, after this dating contest and stuff.
Yeah.
So like I became a Christian, I started going to church, I got baptized, I started serving in church. So, and then I was pursuing this girl
Right.
at church. At first she's not interested in me. It's not really her fault. Let me tell you the whole story. So this I probably never heard of. So I asked her to go on a date. Okay, just say, hey, want to go for dinner? Wait. No, not harmful in anything. Quite harmless, right? So we went on a date, and then I had one beer. Okay, so in the context is that in Canada it's common for us to drink, right? I mean, most European people. So at that time, now I don't drink anymore. But anyway, that's a different story. So I had one beer, and then she was very offended, because she felt like I'm drinking and driving, okay? So she's not interested anymore, right? So then I messaged her again. She's like, no reply and stuff. Then I'm like, okay, well, life goes on. I was training for my Ironman and stuff, so I just plow my head into that, serving at church, working. Life is okay. And then guess what? A couple of weeks or months later, all of a sudden we talk again. Just passing through each other in the church and say, hey, how you doing? Blah blah blah. And then I think I asked her out for a coffee date. I think just like, hey, you want to have coffee? She said sure. And then after that, I don't know how, I don't remember exactly, because it's a long time ago. But I think after a while, I was really interested in her.
Okay.
And so I decided to really what we call it, is establish a relationship.
Right,
Having
right.
that talk with
Define the relationship.
Define the relationship. Yeah. DTR. Yeah. Back in the days, DTR, define the relationship. So I did something really romantic, and it really just moved her heart. She was never expected it.
Okay,
She
wait.
Uh,
What was the romantic thing that you
I
did?
don't want to say.
No, like, wow, 13 years of marriage, my friend.
Okay.
I'm hearing it on the first time in public.
So what happened was that, like, me and a whole bunch of friends, including her, went to one of our friends' recital in downtown Toronto. Okay. So I took her along, and then we go there. I was driving her, but we all met there as a group. Okay.
Right.
So after this, they're like, oh, let's go get something. Let's go somewhere to have a drink or have some snacks or whatever. And I say no. She got to come with me, because I already planned something already. So during the recital, halfway through the break, I actually booked a restaurant just like down the street from this recital. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So during the break, I ran to the restaurant, and I have a rose or 2 roses. Okay.
Cute.
And then I gave it to the server and said, hey, can you keep this for me? I'll come back later, because I reserved the space. I'll bring it out. And I ran back to the recital. Right. Like nothing happened. Right. So after the recital, nobody knows what's going on. She doesn't know what's going on, right? So I took her to this restaurant or something like that.
Right.
And then we have a drink. Okay, like non-alcohol drink. have a dessert, and then that's when I told her how much I like her and I want to be in a relationship.
Wow,
I took
that's
her the
very
rose.
brave.
Yeah, and
I never heard of this before.
Yeah,
Oh my
it's brand
goodness.
new.
Yeah.
And then,
Like, wow.
So she was shocked.
Shocking.
She went to the washroom, and I was like, yeah, I did it. I was so happy. And then she's like, oh, she's so excited. And then I dropped her off.
Wait. So you're saying that she actually reciprocated? She was excited too?
Yeah, she said she was very touched. Yeah.
So she liked you?
Yeah. I think
Oh,
so. I think so. I don't
wow.
know.
Okay.
So anyways,
And then?
so I was like, yeah, I got home. I'm like, yeah, I scored. I did it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then, what happened was that then the whole tragedy comes. Okay. And
Okay.
so what happened was that she told her
Her parents.
parents about this,
Yeah.
and then her mom and her parents actually really disliked this idea because her parents went to my baptism
Mm-hmm.
and heard of my testimony of how I had a liver transplant,
Right.
and now I'm doing triathlon, and so all they can think about is like, I'm gonna die very soon. So
Oh, man.
they really told her that, like, do you want to become a widow? Do you want
Yeah.
to spend your life, sitting in a car waiting for me to do my Ironman, triathlon, all that stuff? So they don't even want to talk to me. And so it became so
Bad.
serious, yeah,
Yeah.
so bad that she actually moved to her friends for a couple months, I think, a
What do you
month
mean
or two.
move with her friends?
She moved out of her parents' house. She moved
Oh.
away. Yeah, because it was so bad. So
Wow.
so I
She must have really liked you then.
I don't know.
For you to move out from her parents' home.
So this time I don't even know what to do, right? Because
Wow.
I felt I did everything right,
Right.
because I didn't like try to trick her. I didn't try to, pretend I'm not somebody I'm not,
It's true.
and I just pursue it. I felt like as right as I can.
Yeah.
And I'm like also serving God at that time. I'm like I
Yeah.
think I'm like a deacon or some like at least fellowship leader. I was moving on to a deacon.
See.
I was doing various things, and I'm like telling God, I'm like, I don't understand. I'm
Right.
doing everything right, but I'm still like, why I'm still getting this like
Rejection.
rejection rejection or
Yeah.
this cloud. And I'm like, okay, then of course you pray, right? You're like, God, please, like, change the parents' hearts.
Right.
I cannot even talk to her parents. It was so bad, like,
Wow.
and so like my pastor was like, do you want me to talk to them?
Oh,
And I'm
wow.
like,
That's
no,
serious,
because she
man.
doesn't want me to talk to them, right? So
Wow.
we just give her space. And for me, the saddest part is like, she can be happy with her friends, but I cannot even be close to her because of her parents, right? And so I cannot even go on a date. It was terrible,
Like when you messaged her, she didn't even message back.
She messaged back, but
What?
it's really like, it's almost like everything is underground, right? Because, and so it became a very awkward season for me. And I think looking back, I felt like I should have called it off, actually. It was very hard though, because I don't want to, so I'm just holding on, right?
Yeah.
And I felt like the minute she moved out of her parents' house, it's already a bad sign. Like, because I just think that is not, I'm not saying that's a wrong thing to do, but I just think that that's not a good sign anyways, right?
Okay,
Like,
but
things not gonna change immediately unless, like, there's a huge miracle that happens, and it didn't.
okay,
Yeah.
so I have a question
Yeah.
about that. So you can see, friends, like the evolution, right, of Cliff. This is the-
Evolution of dating.
Yeah, it's true, right? I mean, you first started out with like being like a new Christian, not knowing what to do, drinking, and then just, hit and miss, doing all these like crazy dating competitions. And then now you've evolved, you've become a deacon, serving actively at church, doing all the right things, defining the relationship, and still it failed.
Yeah, it's still, well, I mean,
And-
okay, you haven't failed yet, right? So,
Right.
so you're in this like
Limbo.
Yeah, limbo, like a chasm
That's
between
the
both
worst.
sides, right?
That's really the
And
worst.
so, and I think, okay, you want to tell me the end, or you want to
I want to ask you a question
sure.
actually at this point. So my question is, when do you know when it's wise to continue to persist versus when to let go? Because like you said, you were holding on for a miracle, right? And yet you said that for her to move out of her parents' place, that's not a good sign. But you're still hoping things to turn
Yeah.
around. So when do you know? Like, how do you know?
I think, okay, this is where it's really hard, because relationship is very complicated, because
Yeah.
it requires two people,
Yeah.
and various circumstances involved. So
Yeah.
there's no like right formula, say this is not the right time, this right
Right.
time. But I just think when I look back at my, all this saga of relationship, pursuing relationship, right? I just feel like I put too much heart into this than it needs to be. Of course,
More.
when it comes to love, you want to go 100%, right?
Yeah.
But I just think when there are these things, we should just hold back a little bit. Because I remember my pastor, after, what happened, she said, yeah, well, you know what, maybe she will change her mind, but maybe not. And I was like, that's so devastating for me to hear, because I don't want to change her mind. I want her to say yes. I want her parents to change their mind, and guess what? It didn't happen.
Okay, so
Yeah,
actually
anyways,
here,
you wanna
I
talk about
think
the end?
we have a very profound nugget of wisdom, which is,
Yeah.
I think you said 100% all in to pursue the girl. And yet also, I think there's also that 100% of surrender, like holding it loosely and telling God, like, if it doesn't work out, it's okay.
Yeah,
I think that's the principle,
I
right?
think, for me, the warning sign was like her and her parents' relationship not doing well.
Right.
In a way, I feel like that's already quite a red flag already. Not to say 100% no, but it should be like, Cliff, maybe you shouldn't be so wholehearted into this. Not that you date another girl or look for another girl,
Mhm.
but you shouldn't put so much emotion into it because it may not turn out the way that you expect it to be. And it's
Right.
true, it didn't turn out the way I expected it to be.
Okay, so I can really see
Yeah.
that you really put in your all. I mean, the whole
Yeah.
recital thing and the
Yeah.
roles. I like. I mean, he really went all out. A poor guy. I never heard this story before, so but I can see. Yeah, I'm like so shocked, right? But now I can see. Yeah, it's true. You do have that romantic streak in you. but-
Sometimes.
Yeah.
The other time, sometimes.
Good enough.
Good
you know,
enough.
makes me
Good enough to
happy.
get with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also I can see that, you know, there was a point where something didn't align with your values, when you felt like it was breaking a family up. I could see that you were holding back. So Cliff, after you walked out of that, right, I'm sure it was very painful, very
Okay.
heartbreaking.
So
And then the next step, like you liked another girl, right?
okay. Let me just talk about this ending first. So how
Okay.
the end? Okay,
Sure.
so it ended was I went back to Hong Kong from
Right.
Canada to Hong Kong. I quit my job because it wasn't working well. So I went back to Hong Kong because my grandma passed away.
Okay.
I spent there for like about a month and a bit in Hong Kong, and I came back, and then then she said, "Oh, I'm not interested," and that's it.
Oh, so sad.
Yeah. So for me, it's so sad, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I just felt like, when you tell me that she really like you, I would say yes in the beginning, but guess what? Emotions change. Things change too. And by that time, I came back from Hong Kong. She said, "I'm not interested. I don't think we
Right.
should see each other."
Right.
Yeah, that was truly a heartbreak. I was like, wow. It's so funny. I just remember immediately after she told me this, the conversation was short, right? Just in the car, like 5 minutes.
Oh, face to face?
Yeah. 5 minutes.
Oh, she actually asked you out to talk?
I told her to, let's talk. Let's meet and talk. And then after that, I felt so rejected. I went to my friend, my other best friend, and then I just ranted. I just because I just have so much emotion, right?
Right.
So I should have, like, looking back, I should have prepared that it is possible that it may not work out,
Right.
but at that time, right, when I was in Hong Kong, I was just still like, have this, I guess maybe like a bit naive, thinking that,
Right.
oh, things can still work,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like that's it. If I pull back a bit, I probably wouldn't be as hurt.
Right.
And so, but of course, you don't know what you don't know
Yeah,
until you look back, right?
I think this is a very nuanced kind of principle that we're learning, in that it's very important, I think, when you pursue a girl to be brave enough to put yourself on the line, but then on the other hand, also being willing to be mature enough to see how things evolve. And then, I mean, the word that keeps coming to my mind is to hold it loosely.
Yeah,
and
it's
to-
kind of like, it's
It's kind of a tension that you
yeah,
have to
it's
hold.
almost like, it's not like an oxymoron, but it's
Yeah.
like you do 100%, but you also
Be
not go
mature.
100%. Because circumstances and
Change.
of course, relationship is not just like, if I do these right steps, it will work out. There's no formula, because the
Sure.
other person is also have free will and they have the freedom to choose too.
True.
And so you really don't know how it will end up.
Yeah.
And I think that is part of being a relationship,
Did-
or pursuing a relationship.
Did you blame yourself? Did you feel like I'm a failure? And also, did you blame God?
Oh, okay.
Because
Yeah,
a big
yes.
reason was that it was because of your transplant. Did you ever feel like
Oh, yes.
God gave me this cancer and then I have this transplant and therefore I didn't get the girl? All
Well,
this self-blame and guilt.
I don't think I blame myself so much.
Okay.
I just told God, it is so unfair. It's
Okay.
so unfair. Like, I mean, it's so funny. Like, her parents, right? In order to pursue her, not to pursue me, to say yes to me, they even give her like a report, like a scientific study, which is true, of like the longevity of transplant recipients. And the funny thing is, when I look at that chart, I was like, beyond. I was always so much longer. It was so funny. I was like so much longer.
Right.
Anyways, it was very
I'm
funny.
happy that you can laugh.
It was so funny.
I'm glad you can laugh about it now.
Not
but I'm
funny
sure,
then, but funny now.
Yeah, I'm sure at that point it must have been
and so
painful. Yeah.
and so I spent a lot of time. Okay, so at that time I was really seriously training for Ironman, because that's the year I'm gonna do it. So I spent all my hours of biking and running just spending with God, just
Processing.
grieving, I guess. Yeah,
Wow.
telling God how I feel. I said, God, this is so unfair. This is so unfair. This is so unfair. God never tell me anything. Not to say he didn't. I just feel like he never said, like, this is the reason why you are not working out. This is the reason why this happens. But I think it's just communing with God.
Right.
I think I find it so precious.
Okay, so I want to just say that grieving after a heartbreak is very normal and very good and very healthy.
I think you should grieve. I don't think you should like distract yourself or like, oh, just be positive and move on, have more faith. But rather, bare your heart before God and
grieve.
And you're hurt, you're sad.
Okay.
So we're gonna talk about the next girl, right?
There's another
there's so
girl.
many. Sorry, there's so many, right?
There's another
So
girl.
you're talking me about okay. So let me just continue this story. Okay, so she broke up with me like I think back in like April, May, right? Guess what? By summer, which is June or July, she's already dating someone else.
Okay.
You know, and then my best friend had to tell me that because they're in the same
Right,
you know
right.
team or something like that, and then they're like, oh yeah, by the way, just to let you know, she's already dating this other person, and I'm like, what? Anyway, so by that time I stopped talking to her. We're no relationship anyway, so that's fine,
Yeah.
you know. But then, so I have to move on. That's the reality, right?
Sure.
So I think after that summer, it took me a couple of months, about like 6 months, I think, to
Okay.
really move on,
Mhm.
and that's okay. And so you know, I started pursuing other female potentials in church.
And then
Okay.
this is just a funny trivia. One day I told Claire, I said, I want to see the photos of all the girls that you liked before. And he actually showed me, and I realized when they say guys have a type, it's really true. I'm like, everybody looks like me. Everybody has long
Not
hair, you're
here,
Asian.
Yeah, so funny. Not as funny as you though. Anyway, so funny. Anyway, so you know, yeah, I start, you know, there's some female friends I used to be friends before. I started
Right.
asking them out, but nothing really. I say no chemistry. Yeah, like after once, and then not so interested, or they don't find it interesting in me,
Okay.
or vice versa. And so fine. So you want to talk about
Yeah,
okay,
this
so
girl.
now there's this girl.
Yeah.
Okay, this girl that I start to interested, and then at the same time, my best friend also interested in this
This
girl,
is really Hong Kong drama quality,
and then
okay?
you know, at first I just brushed it off aside a little bit, but then my best friend, who's not even in my church, started coming to my church young adults meeting to hang out with this girl, and and then I got really, really jealous, and I got really, really upset. I'm
Right.
upset at my friend. I'm upset at not
The
upset at her,
girl.
but also more upset at my friend.
Right.
And so what happened was that a couple of days later,
Yeah.
they start going out. Now, yeah, after a while, they start going out. And that makes me even more jealous and upset at my friend.
Right.
And I remember I ended up being part of their, or what's it called, engagement party. Is it engagement party?
Oh no.
Right. You know,
Yeah.
and I was like, you know, I put in a long face, right? Because
Yeah.
everybody's so happy. I put a long face.
Right.
And I was like, of course, I go back to God. I said, God, this is unfair, blah, 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 blah. And then my best friend is totally oblivious to this, right? And I said, it's so unfair. How come, like, you know, he just come over to my church and steal my girl that I like? But to be honest, I think she likes, like, this girl probably likes my friend more than like me.
Sure.
So you know, so like I said, it's just free will, right? So
Yeah.
it's not like, you know, just because I like someone, they have to like me, you know, okay, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So I was so hurt by that. Yeah. Okay.
I'm so sorry, Cliff.
Well, at least I got you at the end.
Okay, then tell
Anyways.
us how that evolved. Like, when was your breakthrough for
Okay,
forgiveness?
so this for me is quite spiritual. Like, so
Yeah.
so at that time, like, you know, I was really hurt and bitter and jealous and envy, I guess.
Right.
You know, and so my church was actually in a transit. Sadly to say, I was going for a church split. So some people from this church doesn't like the senior pastor, and they you know, and so there's the senior pastor doesn't like, you know, so it becomes so ugly and messy. But I know it's gonna happen because I can hear from both sides, and I'm just
Right.
trying to holding on because I was a deacon, and so there's like one meeting where like. Oh, so the senior pastor fired the English pastor, and then, you know, everybody just, wow, the whole thing just exploded, right?
It's
You
really
know, like
dramatic.
drama, yeah, very sad.
Yeah.
So, you know, me being a deacon, I'm trying to hold everybody together, right?
Right.
And so there's a meeting, there's like a church, the finance senior pastor said, okay, we're going to have a meeting tonight and we're going to talk about what happened. Okay. And so this is like really the just drama of fighting, you know, clashing. I can see both sides
Okay,
clashing.
wait. How does this relate to the girl?
Okay. Sorry, just continue. Clashing, right? So me being a deacon, I was so distraught. I took the day off to pray. I say, God, only you can mend things together.
Yeah.
Right? And so God told me, I can fix this, but why don't you forgive those people or ask for forgiveness or mend things those people who you have hurt?
Wow.
You know, that's immediately I remember my friend, my best friend, right? Because I was so angry at him for so long now. Right. And so that, like, before I went to the church meeting that night, I went up to his house and I asked him for forgiveness in tears. And I would say I can only do that not because I'm strong or I'm humble, or I'm whatever. It's because God told me to. Only when God told me to do that, it broke my heart.
Wow.
Right. And so I felt like there was healing or restoration of our friendship and also my own heart. Because if not, I will hold on to this grudge forever.
Wow.
Yeah. And so for me, that night was very pivotal. Okay. And now, what happened with my church? Sadly to say, the church did split. Some people did left and start their own church and whatnot.
Right.
So there's a whole painful season of my church at that season, right? But at the same time, I felt like because I have asked my friend for forgiveness, I have restored that relationship.
There was a reparation.
Yeah, that was so beautiful actually.
Yeah.
And it's not something that I said I could have done by myself because I was in such a spiral of painful hurts and despair.
Yeah, and it's really amazing because I know even through all these years, I mean, you guys have already had kids and all that, and you're still in very close touch with each other.
I mean, the most beautiful part about this story actually is that I went to their wedding and I had a great time.
Wow.
Like, had it not forgot breaking my heart like that,
Yeah.
I would be so bitter. I probably don't even want to go to the wedding.
Yeah. And what happened after that? After this forgiveness, the reparation, and it was the timing, right? That
okay, so which guys also timing is so wonderful because I still like bumping around. Okay, by this time, everybody in church, all the female friends had already been like snapped up already. Not snapped up, but they already have in a relationship, right? Because we're on the same age, right? We're like in the mid-20s, late 20s, early 30s, right?
Yeah.
So it comes to a point where like I felt like I've like, pursued many girls and that didn't happen, this didn't happen. I told God, okay, I'm okay to, if I just serve you for the rest of my life single, it's still okay. And I feel like, but the beautiful thing is once God restored my friendship with my friend, you showed up.
Wow.
She just like wrote this comment on my blog, just
not looking for romance, by
just
the way.
say, oh, your testimony is so good, and then you showed up, and then that kind of changed
everything. Wow.
Yeah, that changed
Okay,
everything.
so I think wow, thanks so much for sharing your story and journey of rejection, Cliff. I think we have really gleaned a lot of principles and valuable insights. I think, like when you mentioned about how the first girl, for example, there's really no control that you can have over the other person. You can only give your 100% in being brave to pursue, and yet also give 100% in terms of allowing God to write His story. That's the first one. I think from the second relationship, what I learned was that the importance of forgiveness and reparation, and being in an emotionally healthy place. So I think that was something very valuable that I learned, like not to rush headlong into the next relationship, but really allowing God to kind of work His work in our lives first, right? And then I guess the last one would be, that you still were brave enough to pursue me. And I guess, even as we bring the conversation to a close, I don't want to miss out this last thing, because actually when you met my parents, there was also another crisis where actually my parents did the same thing as the first girl's parents.
Yeah, actually it's a repeat, actually, almost.
And I just felt like, wow, like, was it very triggering for you, Cliff, when my parents actually said, because he had a liver crisis, and then my parents and actually several of my mentors and people around me started saying like, oh, maybe it's just better that you guys be friends since you guys are not like formally engaged yet or married. Just take this time to maybe just call it a friendship, right? And there were a few days where I didn't text you back and I needed some time, and my parents were concerned that you didn't have enough financial backing.
Security,
So those few days when I stopped texting you, right, like what was going through your mind? Was it like,
by that time, right, it's different scale already, because I already sold everything in Canada, because I was coming to serve in Singapore, right?
As
an
a
IT in
professional in an NGO.
in an NGO, Christian NGO, right?
Yeah.
So there were bigger stakes, because I felt like, when you stop texting me and all this hoo-ha started to come out, right?
Yeah.
I felt like, wow, why can't I just get rejected when I'm still in Canada? I gotta sell everything, give up everything to come here to get rejected. That is like, of course, then I go back to God, but God, that's so unfair, that's so unfair.
It's the cost, no? The cost feels so much more, right?
But then I think that night, I remember that's one night I cried and cried and cried. And I think that night I realized that, like, it's a self-realization that I came to Singapore not because of you. I came to Singapore because I came to serve God, and God lead me to Singapore to do the work that He wants me to do in IT. Therefore, I'll do that. So whatever this happens, if it doesn't work out, because I also at the same time I have no control, right? Because if you say no and you don't reply to me, like, what can I do, right? If it doesn't work out, it's still okay. I'll be hurt, but I'll move on. But my reason why I'm in Singapore is because God has sent me here to do his job.
Wow.
So I think there's a bit more maturity.
Yeah.
And I think even like, like if you guys don't know our story, is that for while we're emailing each other and
Yeah.
like, and I added her on and I added her on Facebook friend, and I can see like every time she writes something, all the guys, her guy friends will like all comment, right? And so of course, as a guy who's interested in her but cannot really pursue her because I'm,
Oh wait.
on the other side of the world, I just told God that I told myself that I will continue to be a friend, and still be interested in pursuing you. But if one day your Facebook show that you are not single, you are like
In a
in a
relationship.
relationship, or if one day, then I'll back off.
Right.
So I think that was my approach, because I don't, I think even during relationship, I want to pursue it rightly. I want to
Right.
glorify God in what I do and
Yeah.
how the things I say and my actions.
Right.
So this means that I treat you as a sister in Christ, and I do things
Right.
that is right according, not try to cheat, not try to pretend,
Mm.
not try to steal your heart even before I came to Singapore, all
Right.
those stuff, right? So I think there's, of course, the Bible never talk about relationship, like pursuing relationship or
Right.
dating, but there's a lot of principles around it.
Yeah, I really
Yeah.
love this because I think I can see that, even in the journey of pursuing a girl, Cliff really had to clarify and refine his values. And I can see that even when you pursued the first girl, right, one
Yeah.
of your values was not to
Yes.
break up their family. And even here, you were very clearly making a decision that you would not overstep a boundary. Like, it wouldn't be like, I persist in pursuing
Yeah.
to the other
Oh,
person's detriment.
I mean, I can easily, if I want to be manipulative, I can easily say, come on, Weijia, you have a calling, I have a calling from God, we both love missions, don't hear what your parents say, just, just
And
work
just
together.
elope.
Or just say, I came all the way, or manipulate emotionally, right? I
Right.
came all the way from
Sure,
Canada to
yeah.
Singapore, sell everything I have, give up my friends, my
Yeah.
family, just to be with you. So
Yeah.
why can't you do the same for me?
Wow.
Right? Like, that's so manipulative, right?
Actually, I would say that when Cliff actually told me that he had an encounter with God and he said that, he realized that there was a bigger picture beyond me, actually, that was what moved my heart. And actually, that was one of the main reasons why, even when my parents pressured me a lot to actually give
Yeah.
him up, I actually held on because I felt like, actually, this guy, he loves God more than me. And I felt that there was something more to it. So, I mean, that in itself is another story as well,
yeah,
about how,
yes.
we resolve with my parents and God changing their hearts and all that. But I think long and short to say, I think this conversation has been very, at least for me, I think it's been very eye-opening.
Yeah,
but
you learn something new about me, about
I'm
my
like,
feelings and my
wow.
relationship. What?
Yeah,
It's like,
this is very fresh
Rachel
for
will be
me.
like, where are my roses? Where are my roses?
No, it's okay.
Where are my surprise?
I like other flowers, so it's okay. I can relax and let this one go.
Oh, I'm in trouble after this.
Okay,
Oh no.
you've done other amazing things, so I can let it go. But yeah, I think I want to summarize. I want to give people like some takeaways, some handles from this. But I think one of the things that I think is very admirable is that you give people a chance to see that actually it's so important to know your values and not overstep them, even in the rush or even in the giddiness of pursuing a relationship. So knowing your boundaries, knowing when to kind of, I would say, actually to uphold your integrity. Not bend yourself to be a different person just to get what you want.
Because you can. And I would say relationships do happen if you
yeah.
bend yourself and pretend to be someone else you're not.
Yeah.
Or do something that is not so right.
Okay.
You just manipulate a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Because there's so much emotion involved,
Yeah.
right?
So I would say the first one
Yeah.
is actually really be authentic and really stay grounded to your values. Don't change the person that you are, because then you're putting up a front.
Yeah.
And being someone you're not. So I think the first one is be authentic. The second one is, 100% all in, but also 100% surrender to God.
Yeah,
Right?
wow, that's very profound.
Right? And then the third one, I think, is really examine your inner life, like forgiveness, reparation. What is it that I really need to put before the Lord before I get into another relationship?
Yeah.
Right? And then last but not least, I think this one is, really the closing one, which is, I would say, trust God for the bigger picture. Because I think when Cliff felt so rejected, I think my heart also broke, because I felt like, wow, this is like, it's very triggering. Like, it's the same thing happening in our relationship as the first rejection.
Yes.
But Cliff still said, I will trust God for the bigger picture. Even if this relationship doesn't work out, I trust that God had a plan for me, even though I had to sell everything, I had to come to Singapore. And that, wow, was such a breakthrough, I think,
Yeah.
for both of us. Yeah, so with this, I just want to say thank you so much, Cliff. Maybe
You're
I'll just
welcome.
ask one last question before we close. And if there's one thing that you could tell young men today about to encourage them to pursue a girl with courage and wisdom, what would that be?
Okay. One common theme I see when I come to like mentoring young men when it comes to relationship,
Yeah.
I notice a pattern is that they like a girl, but they don't really like love the girl. Like I'm not saying like, I just think that like sometimes people say, oh, emotional is bad, heart is bad, right? Because, they pull like, the Old Testament quote, right? Heart is deceitful above all things. I think that's from Jeremiah, right? But I just think that when it comes to relationship, you gotta really love that girl. You gotta be like, when I pursue Rachel, when I first, like even before even seeing her in person, right? I'm just reading about her. I say, this is the girl I want to be with, and I will do anything to be with this girl.
Wow.
That's why I email you 5 times a day.
It's crazy, seriously.
But I just think that like that emotion is not necessarily a bad thing. It's a bad thing if we become lust, right? But it's not a bad thing because if your heart is not so in love with this girl, why do you want to be in this relationship? You might as well stay as friends, right? But I see a lot of guys that have this limbo between like, oh, I don't want to break this friendship because I'm so interested in her, but I don't know what to do. I don't want to have rejected and lost the
You
friendship.
say your famous quote lah.
Yeah,
when I asked him I asked Cliff last night, I said, what tipped you over to actually like decide that to 100% pursue me?
Yeah, so even though like I know I don't have like very little chance, right? Because I'm still in Canada,
Right.
and God didn't tell me to go to Singapore and stuff. All I told myself is that when I think about that, if I don't pursue her, I'll regret. That is even more painful than the risk of getting rejected from pursuing her.
Wow.
Then that's when I know that I gotta go. I gotta like keep
so let's
pushing.
distill this, okay? This is the perfect place to close. But when Cliff discovered that the regret of not pursuing me would be greater than the risk of rejection, that was when he decided to go all out.
Yeah.
So with that, I think this is the perfect way to kind of, encourage any listeners out there who are, kind of on the line, like not sure whether to do or not do, pursue or not pursue, to really be brave, I think. Be brave and, let the Lord lead you. Be brave, go all out, and yet also all out trust the Lord and leave it in His hands.
So profound.
Yeah. So
it's
with
like
that,
coming from my mouth.
I refine it,
Yeah. My mouth is not so filled with wisdom.
You're good, Cliff. You're good.
You.
But thank you everyone for joining us. And thank you so much, Cliff, for being here.
Helpful for you guys.
Yeah.
Especially the guys. Bye. See you. Bye. Hey, that's good.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
So funny.
Oh my gosh,
Where are my roses?
I never knew this. Oh my gosh, you never told me. Yeah, you never told me. I didn't know that when you and your best friend did the thing, it was you who started the challenge.
Oh, I was so
thought
cocky.
it was him.
I was like, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's get it done. And then
I never knew all these things about
now
you.
you know. After 13 years of marriage, more stuff. It's like one of this. Then you're like, you may want to change your mind. Regret for marrying me.
Too late already.
Regret for marrying me. It's so funny. Okay, let's do it.
Wow.
Done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Friend, I hope this conversation blessed you. If you know an ordinary Christian with extraordinary faith whom you'd love to hear me interview, or if that person's you, please let me know. Just drop me a note at hello@kitedreams.org. Be blessed.